Have you ever wondered how one simple decision could completely change your life? Today I want to share a story that will make you rethink the choices you take for granted. Stay with me until the end and don't forget to subscribe and like for more inspiring stories. It was a chilly morning in New York City. The streets were busy with people rushing to work, the subway trains were crowded, and the smell of fresh coffee filled the air. I had just moved to the city, excited about a new job opportunity but nervous about fitting in. I remember walking past the old bookstore near my apartment. Its windows were dusty, and the bell above the door jingled as people entered. I never thought that stepping inside that store would start a chain of events that would change my life forever. Inside the bookstore, I noticed an elderly woman arranging books. She had a kind face and eyes that seemed to have seen decades of life stories. I greeted her and she smiled warmly. She introduced herself as Mrs. Harper and invited me to explore a section she called Books That Change Lives. As I browsed through the shelves, I found a small leather-bound journal. It wasn't for sale, she told me. She wanted someone who needed it most to have it. She said it had a way of helping people understand themselves better. I was curious and a little skeptical, but I accepted it. When I got home, I opened the journal. It wasn't filled with words as I expected, but with questions. Questions that forced me to think deeply about my life, my dreams, my fears, and what truly mattered to me. For the first time in a long time, I paused. I asked myself things I had never thought about. What am I afraid of? What makes me happy? What have I been ignoring for the sake of convenience or comfort? Each page pushed me to reflect, and slowly I realized I had been living on autopilot. The next day, I walked past the same bookstore and saw Mrs. Harper again. I told her how much the journal had helped me. She nodded knowingly and said, "Reflection is only the first step. Now comes action." I decided to take a small step towards something I had been postponing for years. I signed up for a weekend course on creative writing. It was terrifying at first. I was afraid I wouldn't be good enough, that others would judge me. But the moment I walked into that class, I felt alive in a way I hadn't for years. Life, of course, wasn't easy after that. I faced setbacks at work, struggles in my personal life, and doubts that made me question every choice I was making. But I kept the journal with me. Whenever I felt lost, I would write, and it reminded me that small actions could lead to big changes. I met new people who inspired me. Some became mentors, others friends who supported me. Each interaction reminded me that change doesn't happen in isolation. It's shaped by the people around us and the choices we make daily. One evening, while reflecting on the past few months, I realized something incredible. I was no longer the same person who walked into that bookstore months ago. I was more confident, more aware, and more grateful. I decided to take a risk. I pitched an idea for a book inspired by the journal and my experiences. It was rejected at first, but I didn't give up. I revised it, worked late nights, and finally found a publisher who believed in the story. Looking back, I see that life's most unexpected moments can lead to the greatest growth. A simple visit to a bookstore, a conversation with a stranger, and a journal filled with questions changed my entire perspective. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this story, it's that change is possible for everyone. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. Start with small actions today. Ask yourself the right questions. Listen, reflect, and act. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it inspires you to take your own steps toward change, no matter how small. Remember, every great journey begins with a single decision. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video for more real-life stories that inspire. Share it with someone who might need to hear it today. And always remember, your life can change in ways you never imagined, sometimes starting with just one small step.